One way or another, I'm gonna find ya. I'm gonna get ya, get ya, get ya, get ya. One way, maybe next week, I'm gonna see ya. I'm gonna get ya, I'll get ya.
Sometimes when I look at myself, I am not sure what I am becoming, and it scares me to know that my life hangs in the balance of the society that I am a part of. Without being able to produce quality work for my society, I will not be able to succeed. How should I find clients to allow me the trust to let me work on their projects?
The foggy morning had some sunshine peeking through the window in just the right amount to allow me to wake up slowly and bat my eyes a few times, in comfort, before making my first cup of coffee and cracking my back, getting myself invigorated for the day's tasks and duties.
Through my study with the artificial intelligent image creationist devices of technological aptitude, I have found that I must relay my message to the machine interpreter as I do with a gentle human that does not understand verbiages. The device only seeks to give object of the mind to me that are depicted through compositions of nouns, adjectives, and participant conjunctions. With the foresight to see what one wants, they can deem the machine capable to convey the scene with a conjunction of itemizations that are to be in a setting of relationships, not necessarily conveying spatial parameters and obstacle placements. These devices are much more complex and require individual placements in some scenarios to convey greater compositions of massive detail, which in such cases certain images are needed. We have to relay the messages in separate singularity universes of untouched form, on blank canvases. Then we can combine the imageries into a cohesive interplay of images and bring them back into the AI scripter and have the generative fill command screen. Recreate the boundaries through the wall capacities found in the composition, selecting the divisions between disjunction objects so that they can become more cleanly separated and become cohesive wholes. This is AI. Future image processing. It will become more unruly and tangentially aware of our immediate environments as we go further down its path, helping it become aware of our cultural contexts and benign frequencies of product placements, and develop the inherent sense of advertisement through corporate sponsorship, where we will lose the grip on the absolute uniqueness the technology now holds, hold on tight for the bumpy ride of the only unique image technique of creation available, and never seen before obstacle courses.
In 7, 4, 6, 3, 2, 5, 5, 5, underscore. We are here to listen. Those are here to learn. They are here to adapt, survive, compost, and churn. Long for the light that the early day brings. We give back to life as much harvest as it brings. Daunting fields of forage that never cease to be. Fill up with swarms of bees pollinating every tree. Our backs are up against a wall, and shortly we'll stand. Our plugs tied up into our hearts, and our rights within our hands. The back and story of the upper-handed task is the fellows with no glory handed merciless types of tasks. The strength and will to take a burden that no man should ever bear. In the faith that the system placed who helped him to take a dare, they watch and listen and counteract the phase of the silent weeping sun, picks up a matchbook, flips a switch down to action of the dark sound. Memories in the back of a mind are becoming more or less stark. Violent scenes in a clockwork of reality depend upon a dance. They feed into a placated state and move it up to help reprimand. The only thing you do not know is what I tell myself. The rhymes inside my lyrical venues are typed without a chance. No time to let you doubt yourself. Just put me in the corner. Put me in the corner. The jagged edges of my mind are full of your disorder. The ba 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 you supply and the token you grant to pass along the bridge has given me time to sort things out and become a citizen's friend. Here we are to try to settle a battle that's never been won. We hold our minds in light of passings, and blessings will be gone. To flavor the air and strip the mind of its only timeless thing, itself, its soul, its emaciated whole, the downtrodden wicked stairs. So take them all and void their lives and push them to disrepair. To subversively construct a fabric, easier to commit to wavelengths with tactics of bartered goals and marketable little shit. Fiat is here for those to make the resources less provided. I go on without things I loathe, with you and sun divided. Bye.
Validated expressiveness in architecture touches on fundamental questions about authenticity and legitimacy in design. How architectural expressions gain acceptance and recognition within professional and academic community is validation of architectural ideas traditionally from multiple sources. Academic discourse and peer review. Built works that demonstrate principles in practice. Historical precedent and evolution of ideas. Critical reception. And public response. Professional recognition and awards who has the authority to validate architectural concepts is complex and contested. Historically, 1. Academic institutions and theorists 2. Practicing architects and their professional organizations 3. Critics and publications 4. Public reception and cultural impact 5. Market forces and clients' deliberation occurs because architecture exists at the intersection of art, science, culture, and utility. Each project holds aesthetic expression, technical feasibility, social responsibility, environmental impact, economic constraints, cultural signs, and rely at ephemeral existences, substance, architecture, philosopher, very N. Go academic journals like EA, Journal of Architectural Education, Architectural Theory Review, Architecture Philosophy 2. Archie's torrential theories provide the vast and few before and beyond. Vitruvius's De Architectura, Le Corbusier's Ritz, Christopher Alexander's pattern language, Kenneth Frampton's critical regionalism, FECT, who says they are real. Rather than being unreal in an absolute sense, architectural philosophies gain legitimacy through Solves, Wells Prolem's capitilla to meaningful discourse, resonant recombinance with animate prompt brief communications, and needs contribution. In Field's graph, Rotting successively seeds traction, broad epistemological query, how we validate knowing in Field's comb objective and subjective elements. Into order. Negociate measurements critères beauty mens grasp. In an indefinite kind of sense of the terms, over the course of the last semester, I've come to grasp a couple of concepts in a more substantial light. In submittal to your magazine, I think you should be aware of 2 major themes when dichotomizing topics to be held in a sense of things to be talked about, and things to be kept in a wrap of caution tape in so many words that is a decrypt way of epitomizing the 2 categories that things may fall under. We have the concepts of well, the law bound by omerta, and I can't say much more on that unless, well, you look it up and understand or attempt an overstanding outreaching underlay, but be careful with where you lie the weights of its breaches. There is the other side of faith, an item of concept called omerta, the demographied voices and guttural intonations, morphologies that exist as they are, and influencing through their existences hold meaning altogether as instances of happening things that may not have been standardized by the explicit. Endorsement of the cymatic hegemony for particular tried and true reasoning. The things that don't have meanings attached are so hefty and unfathomable that we dare not attempt to use them even in casual conversation in public venue. But behind the veil and curtain of your mind's eyes and in the realm of architectural explorative conjure stations, all things are free reign by any designer at any time, just as all is fair in love and war, all rules become abandoned in architecture. We are the one industry unbound by a ruler, because we make the actual form through the depiction of our own scale, laid out like a pattern of dragon skin, if you will, or a buildup of calcium and contaminants from water.
To get the planet in tip-top tier shape, leave the planet, explore the stars. Tip-top tier shape, to get the planet in tip-top tier.
To win an argument is one thing, but to realize there was never a reason to have a debate to begin with is the real underlying truth. All it does to quarrel about a topic is to defend a topic that you see is right to your own self. If an argument ensues, it's because there is a differing perspective. That will never change. You can't make it reality. In order to make order, and have order, we cannot argue for any reason under any circumstance. I will not stop defending my perspectives, and you won't stop defending yours. So leave them in your own mind, and do not express them if they create conflict. Leave them where they sit and filter their existences into really honed items o speech that look for ways to appease a situation. Not because you can't win, but because the energy is most efficiently used in a positive contributing method to a larger scene is, well, the law bound by omerta.
Whoever appeals to the law of his fellow man is either a fool or a coward. Whoever cannot take care of himself without that law is both. For a wounded man shall say to his assailant, "If I live, I will kill you. If I die, you are forgiven." Such is the rule of honor.
The law bound by omerta, and I can't say much. More on that unless, well, you look it up and understand or attempt an overstanding outreaching underlay, but be careful with where you lie the weights of its breaches. There is the other side of faith, an item of concept called amarta, the demographied voices and guttural intonations morphologies that exist as they are, and influencing through their existences hold meaning altogether as instances of happening things that may not have been standardized by the explicit. Endorsement of the cytomatic hegemony for particular tried and true reasoning. The things that don't have meanings attached are so hefty and unfathomable that we dare not attempt to use them even in casual conversation in public venue. But behind the veil and curtain of your mind's eyes and in the realm of architectural explorative conjure stations, all things are free reign by any designer at any time. Just as all is fair in love and war, all rules become abandoned architecture. We are the one industry unbound by a ruler because we make the actual form through the depiction of our own scale.
They will devolve, yay, so as will some of we into more adept stereotypical scene generators that have advanced cosmopolitan triggers calculating. The best way is to subversively plant triggers into our subconscious minds and get us to desire certain objects in the consumer markets. Beware the AA, embrace the game, maintain the sane, choose the noise, and delete the grave ploys to technically encroach on our personal space. This is dangerous groundbreaking news, and technologically placed beta trials to get us accustomed to the use of an enterprise that aims to dominate our minds. Saddle up and let's ski the pictures while the pictures are good. They'll place the objects into your image. And then when you go to society and look around and find the similar object, you'll be reminded of your creation. And then they will make you buy it by giving you the happy memory of creating its similar counterpart in a program you already paid for that advertised. It into your mental capacity. Get a car drive, evolve, go. Have a water. That's all you I need. Creature comforted into places of placements.
When you think of space now, we must think of language. We must think of the terms inside the sounds, the rhythm of the noise, the spaces in between the letters and the form of the letters themselves. The design of the language was made to be annexable and interpreted. The binding subscripts allow for a typographical cultural variance or nomenclature depicting certain linguistic isotopes. In this lexicogrammatic understanding, we can begin to allow our minds to bibliomance to any position in a scripture or literary work and understand its underlying contextual value for its baser abstract form and guttural bass intonations of sound itself depicted throughout expression from our vocal cords and vibrating. Chambers of bodily investment and deliberate delivery of good or bad sounding fathomable and real entries into the spatial atmosphere that are spellings. O things spelled into your voice that reach other people's B-brains after hearing the sounds inside their eardrums. The phonetics play a major role in choosing we concepts mea, which things, and their entablated shapes are just as influential on our understandings as the sounds or concepts themselves. We look at buildings and notice the loose fit orthodox orthogonal forms we have so by and large on the face of our planet today, the sights and sounds around them and the colored signs and semiotics of architectural delight and distraction, dismay, distrust, fear, anxiety, discord, and decay, These forms we see are ones I further seek to employ in my study and recombination of spatial meanings that have never been assigned a deliberate message, that has been documented as an official architectural language of morphemes like those found in the lexicogrammatic language that I am so familiar with, English, related to anything under the sun. Architecture, the language of safety, security, and shelter, has no definitions yet. We need them. The shapes of volume, emitting EMFs into.
Yes, my darlings, but for whom do we depict this spatial adventure into being for? Why must we cater to the wills of the depressants, the ones whom do not know for what they are? Are we the ones who make the streets unsafe to sleep at night? Do we rummage the ground's biding ways to incite violent crimes into our atmospheres? My goodness, these people are the ones who eat hot dogs and fried shish kebabs. They would never be able to appreciate a spatial journey as calming and enlightening or invigorating and exciting as we could publish and produce for them. They would undeniably lose their feeble little minds into the uncircumcised, fathomable realms of raging spatial possibilities. We should only assist in finding solutions that go into the topics we need for shelter and safe removal of certain someones that were never allowed to come to our island shores in the first place. Our lands are always going to be too good for the ones who don't allow themselves the insight into our range of understandable, obvious avenues of segregation and proprietary values that have been assigned to the stakeholders of the gates for which we consume the rest behind a closed door. We shall not, and I say not dare, let these mongrel vermin into our homes to be allowed a semblance of peace and prosperity. They were never fit to have it, and we shall never let the grip loosen on the fathomed privilege we hold close to our plantations, and never allow light to be cast upon with camera. These places are for us, and no one else. Good. Architecture, PFF'd. For the masses? Are you outrageously absurd in your years of thinking about life that one could allow mere men and women the granted privilege of decency to have a good, lagua, and easy time at home to think and correlate concepts with a free tertithing? It's absurd, the topic. Enver, bring it up again. These people, they think they are not animals. They think they are rabbits on an alien ship in outer space to breed and play Ego.
Hey there, team. My name's Kim Cook from Yamasee, Warsaw. With each section here, we have a concept that prioritizes factors critical to their domain. Domains are sequentially in a timeline ordering the highest importance to our continued growth and evolution as society first, then straight on down the line. Check this topic set and rebuke or praise its claims. Modesty is the best policy and honesty goes a short way. When we look into the range of Ken of biological and evolutionary priorities or species advancement, here we have listed this set as pinnacle aspect priority. Number 1, we have got the reproductive strategies and genetic diversity factors, where importance of diverse gene pools for adaptability and resilience become. Adjacent to roles in mating behaviors and parenting strategies that enhance species survival. Without the networked bridges we have created, the intergenetic combinations would be struck into a corner of unfortunate inbred solutions, then some survival. Mechanisms and role specialization techniques which give evolutionary advantages of role differentiation, like physical strength or nurturing tendencies, while considering adaptability of individuals to assume roles based on environmental needs. After that, we think about cooperation and group survival, such as contributions of gender-specific and gender-fluid roles to cohesive group functioning, that tend to have effects on balancing competition and collaboration to optimize resource use and defense. Our evolutionary neurobiology is the brain's plasticity in adapting to modern roles while rooted in ancestral instincts. It epitomizes the chemical release influence of hormones and neurotransmitters on behavior and decision-making. Secondarily, we look at the larger frame topic of human societal and ethical aspects or cultural and moral considerations, the human rights and autonomy. Of every individual's right to choose and express their identity is a framed juxtaposition of safeguards against discrimination and societal bias that takes personal preference into an elevated stance. The ethical balance between equity and tradition becomes a fabric which is transitioning from historical gender, Rules to equitable frameworks by incorporating cultural traditions while challenging offensive stereotypes that place nature's dominant forces in higher. Regard this inclusivity and social responsibility do in fact have a recognition of the interconnectedness of personal identities and collective well-beings. With that, we have some fostering environments that embrace diversity for societal progress, and some venues that embrace the antiquated traditions of the hunter-gatherer / male and female depictions of people's naturalized roles through education. And awareness institutions are providing tools for introspection and decision-making on gender roles at specific ages that are controversially contestable to mature audiences. Some of them promoting understanding of the interplay between biology and social constructs were a topic deemed worthy for adult minds who have composed. Their personal consortiums into efficiently working vassals of the macrocosmic enterprise turns into a freely decided delicacy to be openly approached and respectably spoken on in general context by mature participants. Our third framework is of the biologically aligned aspects of chemical and functional capabilities. These hormonal influences on behavior executed through the roles of testosterone, estrogen, oxytocin, and cortisol in emotional and physiological responses. When one has an understanding of how hormonal variances influence stress, bonding, and energy levels, they become emotionally adept enough to be constructively critiqued on their opinions and choices about their chemical compositional factors and bodily. Processes which can be in some regards altered and manipulated into variables of the opposite sex with physical and psychological adaptations we have to ask questions like, we can see the lines. They blur and bend, they contract and transcend, but where do we stop and look around to become at the point where it is okay to actually decide? The compositions of outward-facing internal workings. The matching rules to individual capabilities like physical labor and caregiving become tangential to their respective sexes' chemical makeups in a more normalized sense. Acknowledging how neurochemical balances affect cognitive and emotional tasks is paramount when an individual decides to take on a role and consider the chemical reactions that the divine cosmos has granted them. In some cases, gene therapy and artificial hormone replacement is necessary for one to find the correct balance they are looking for when they decide on their identified permanent roles. With things like chemical tolerances and stress responses, we are investigating how individuals manage stress and adapt to dynamic environments. Through the linking of chemical excretions like dopamine or adrenaline to performance and mood regulation, we find correlation between chemically composed peoples and their optimally placed roles. We see neurochemical diversity in role optimization as ways to have an emphasizing outlook that no single framework fits all. This very diversity in neurochemical profiles enrich our societal roles and find themselves best achieved through natural hormone embrace. Building frameworks that utilize individual strengths while promoting balance for all parties who are deemed fit to make the adult decision towards their role analysis and final submissions into the governed log of identifiable role constructs and the implications thereof. So here it is consumed consumer, choose, create, destroy. Instinctual osness comes down the ladder and tells the little birds to cater to their whims needs and allows them to meet the status quo of social norms and acceptable standards and turn them into monstrous steroidal beasts of women and men who can participate in any competition for any reason or purpose to show how much they can achieve through the little hormonal therapies and complex manipulations to their internal structures, anatomies, and compositions, unhinging their evolutionary processes into decaying amalgamated confusions of intermittent hesitations and acceptances of any policy ever to be implemented that is dressed up in a nice fashion. Starting with a foundation for a framework that transitions from broad, species-level evolutionary priorities to human ethical considerations, then to individual biological capacities. It ensures that the design respects both the collective needs of society and the unique traits of individuals.